the most rewarding parts of life always come at a cost. So I'll start off by saying if you just came here for the Q&A, it's going to be at this timestamp. No, I'm not going to be doing any cooking in this video, but this is still a really important one for me. I will be doing some eating later with the Q&A, so there is that. I'm going to attempt to ride 100 miles for the first time on my bike today, so it's going to be a really long day. So let's go. So I actually started my day by waking up at 5 a.m. and meeting with my workout group, November Project. We just do like a quick 45-minute workout with bodyweight exercises and cardio, running, stuff like that. And I know that's not the most ideal way to prep my body to ride 100 miles, but the schedule's tight and I don't like missing these workouts. Then when I got home, I consumed some energy in the form of my normal 3 Krispy Kreme donuts. Again, might not sound ideal, but it is a huge carb boost which I need to ride my bike for as many hours as I'm going to. And at this point, I'm also used to it. I picked these up the day before to save time, and man, that blueberry cake donut is the best. Here's my fuel for the day. This should last me the duration of the ride. I freeze my Gatorades so they'll still be cool by the time I start drinking them out in this heat, and just a couple little carb boosts to keep me going throughout. It's quite hot, but this weather is actually perfect. No wind. However, most of my ride is going to be covered with rain and wind later, which is really going to put a damper on things. So I'm going to try to be as efficient as possible to start things off until I run into all that rain. So far so good. I'm about 12 miles in. I'm not a fast cyclist by any means, but I'm pretty on pace with what my standard is. Again, just trying to do the best I can before the rain gets here. Gotta stay fueled up. Also, the rain clouds are coming in, so it's looming. This tire has popped pretty much every ride for the last month or so, but that's just part of cycling. Flats are definitely a quick way to kill motivation, but I've just now accepted them as part of bike riding, so it is what it is. Onward. This is the end of the bike trail. It's the Bonnet Carré Spillway. I usually come and have a seat because they put benches here and just rest for a couple minutes. I'm at about 40 miles so far. Feeling great. Still have avoided most of the rain, just a little trickles here and there, but it is coming. Hopefully no more flats, but yeah, we're almost halfway there. Let's get to the rest of it. Some more fuel. I've only hit a few small bouts of rain so far, which is really lucky, but I'm not gonna get out of here unscathed. There's a lot of clouds, so I'm gonna get hit pretty soon. And there's still a long way to go. So let's keep this up. Here we go, this is my first real amount of rain. This is not unbearable yet. I'm anticipating it to get worse, but I just wanted to show the gradual spiral into chaos. All right, I'm at like 80 miles. My watch is about to die. It went into power save mode, so I'm worried I'm gonna lose this whole workout. But anyway, other than that rough patch of rain, which lasted for a little bit, it's been clearing up. So I'm hoping that this home stretch goes well. Almost there. There it is, 100 miles done. Unfortunately, I probably won't have a full documentation from my watch because it died, so I won't see that number, but I use landmarks to calculate my way there, and I'm positive that I made 100. Wow. It is just exhilarating. Wow, that was fun. And really the rain wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. It was probably only like 30 minutes of the whole ride, which is nothing. It was only strong for a few minutes. So it's a really good life lesson for me and maybe anybody else to not really focus on something you know might be bad coming to you or something in the future that you can't really control, but just to work with what you have and keep going. But yeah, for some quick context, I used to run a lot. I trained for a half marathon in 2018 and I was training for another one in 2020, and running was just my way to do cardio. I ran all the time. But at the end of 2019, I started having some really bad knee problems and knee pains. So after paying for a bunch of physical therapy and getting x-rays and finally an MRI, I discovered I had a torn meniscus in my knee, but we weren't convinced that that was what was causing the pain, so I didn't get the surgery. And I was just never really able to run more than a couple miles at a time. So that really bummed me out because I love to run. But in 2020, I picked up cycling because there was no impact, and I found out that my knee wasn't really bothered while doing it. That became my thing. I did it every week for a really long distance, sometimes a couple times a week with smaller distances, and I never really had any goals with it. I still haven't done any races or anything, and I don't know if I'm going to. But almost a year ago exactly, I did my first 50-mile ride, and I just loved it, so I just tried to keep going and going. And then at the beginning of this year, I set out to ride 100 miles at some point in the year, and here we are right before August when I'm filming this, and I got it done. Of course, it feels really good. I'm really blessed to be able to do this. This year has brought a few challenges, some really tough times, to be honest. And without going into details, I've just gone through a few hard experiences in a few aspects of my life. That's just to say, I feel really thankful to be here in this position. I've been through a lot with my bike at this point, a few crashes, some almost crashes. I felt like I was going to die a couple times, and just lots of hard weeks of just putting in time. The accomplishment doesn't really rest on what I did today. Today I just went out there and did it, but it's more the consistency and being able to trust myself to go out almost every week and put in the necessary work to make progress and not lose too much. One quick point I wanted to add to this is about limitations and competition. I think it's important to understand the difference between competing against others and competing with yourself. And I think competing with yourself is much more important than competing with others. I feel like we place a lot of emphasis on being the best at something or being better than somebody else. Sports comes to mind and trying to win first place or win a championship. And I get why those things are important, and I get that a lot of people really care about that for good reason. That is important to help us push ourselves. But I think we can definitely go too far with that and obsess over it for the wrong reasons. And the reality is you don't have the same circumstances, the same talents, the same things you were born with that the next person does. And some people get opportunities that you don't, and you get opportunities that others don't. So that's why I think it's much more important to compare yourself to your past self and worry about your limitations and what you know that you're capable of so that you can push those. Going to the edge of your limitations and capabilities is a great feeling. It helps you discover things about yourself and learn about yourself. And I think personally this journey for me was really eye-opening. I was constantly adding a little bit of mileage each time to my total and convincing myself that I was capable of more every time. So all that just to say, I think it's vital that we place ourselves as the main focal point in what drives us. It's far more time consuming than running because I can last a lot longer on a bike than I can on my feet. But I do love it. It's a great time to listen to worship music or listen to some podcasts and just, get away from everything and be at a time of peace. So I'm thankful to have been able to document most of this, and thank you for watching it. God is good. I'm super tired, but I do have to get home and take an Epsom salt bath and get cleaned up because I am going to do a Q&A. Thanks for letting me be real for a minute. I'm starving. To accompany me on this Q&A, I picked up some food from one of my absolute favorite spots, Banh Mi Boys. It's a Cajun Vietnamese fusion restaurant, and their food is absolutely delectable. I picked up a beef bulgogi banh mi, as well as some of these crack fries, which the crack fries are amazing. They have some fried chicken on them and some sauces and bacon and green onions and some spicy powder. I don't know what it is. Just the perfect way to celebrate a 100-mile bike ride. Just in case I'm still hungry, I do have a pint of the Tonight Dough, which is like my favorite ice cream of all time. I always try to keep at least one in my freezer for emergency situations like this. Let's hop in with some of these questions, which thank you to everybody that submitted some. I was worried I was not going to have enough, but I have plenty to answer. So JY asks, what keeps you going? Thanks for the question. Simple answer is my faith. I'm a Christian. I feel like that above all gives me purpose and keeps me motivated and keeps me wanting to push forward. And secondarily, I feel another strong purpose with the martial arts program that I run. We exist to offer a much more affordable version of what private schools offer in the martial arts world. So I have a lot of care for those things. I don't yet have a wife or kids, so this is what keeps me going for now. Thomas asks, do you have a day job? Yes, I work full-time as an electrical engineer, and I also teach martial arts classes in the evening. Thanks for the question. Incredible. Mr. Lost asks, how do you spend your time not cooking or trying new foods? Thank you for the question. Besides my jobs of engineering and teaching martial arts, I enjoy exercising, as you can tell from the bike ride, or just things like playing basketball or running. I love to play music, which speaking of, I'm helping a team to launch a church in our local area very soon, so ask me about it. And otherwise, I just really like to travel. Does this technically count as a mukbang? I don't know. A few people ask me this, what got me into cooking? It's a Funny story, I hated the idea of cooking as a kid and I never thought I was gonna want to do it. So when it was time for me to move out of my parents' house, which was around when I was like 24, I was really nervous because I didn't think I was gonna be able to make food for myself. I really just made like this really small Excel sheet of like 5 or 6 different dishes that I was gonna learn how to cook and just rotate those. But lo and behold, after I moved out, I just started watching like cooking content on YouTube and I realized that I really enjoyed it. And I started trying a bunch of new things since I had my own place, my own kitchen. And I discovered that it was just a passion of mine that I had never tried before. I almost never cooked at the house when I was a kid, but the short answer is cooking YouTube got me into cooking and now I love it. Now I guess I'm sort of part of it in a really small way. Charles Brown asks, where are you from? I'm from New Orleans. I still live near the New Orleans area and I've lived here my whole life. Thank you for the question. Star Lover asks, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go? Japan has always been my #1 destination and I'm still waiting to organize that trip. COVID kind of threw that out of whack. So that's still the #1 destination that I want to visit and I'm gonna have to do it very soon. Chichi asks, what are your top 3 cuisines? Thank you for the question. For me, most days it goes Mexican, Korean, and the third one's a little harder. It's either gonna be Italian, Japanese, or Thai. Rachel asks, what was your favorite childhood snack? Thank you for asking. I think it would definitely have to be Little Debbie cakes. I loved most of them, but my favorites were probably fudge rounds and Swiss rolls. Steph asks, what's your favorite food city? If we're talking global, definitely Mexico City. But if we're talking in the States, I probably have to say New Orleans just because I love it so much. I guess it's a little biased, but outside of my own city, it would probably be San Diego. I haven't yet visited LA or New York, but I think both of those might top San Diego. Sinju asks, what's your favorite place to go as a vacation? If you're asking what my favorite trip has been, so far it's been Iceland by far, but in general, just anywhere that has mountains or hiking. Dingleberry asks, what was your first dish that you cooked? Thanks for the question. It was probably something like a fried egg, but if we're talking like an actual dish, I did do some fried chicken strips and fries to mimic the fast food place that I used to work at. Or funnel cakes. I don't remember which came first. Kess asks your predictions for the Pelicans next season. Definitely won't bow down. I have not been as much of a fan as I'd like to be in the last few years just because of my busy life, but I like the core that we have. I love Willie Green and Fred Vincent, huge respect. I think we're gonna make the playoffs, but any farther than that, I'm not sure yet. It's gonna have to take some time to develop. But go Pels. And Charles Brown again asks, do you work for the Pelicans? No, I don't. I just am a fan and I have a lot of t-shirts from them. Jennifer asks, what's your favorite meal? Ironically, it is definitely bulgogi or Korean beef, or just any K barbecue at all. The flavor combinations in Korea are delectable. Jacory asks, how much do you budget for recipes? That's a tough one because food is expensive right now. Groceries are definitely a higher portion of my spending just because I like food so much. But I do try to limit what I buy and I try to buy things in bulk and on sale so that I can freeze them. But for me alone, I try to spend somewhere around $400 for groceries. Dimitri asks, do you dry off the moisture that gathers from pre-salting your steak before you sear it? The short answer is yes, but I usually salt my steak with enough time for the moisture to come out and then be absorbed back in so I don't have to wipe it off. Or I'll usually just salt right before I sear it before the moisture has a chance to come out. Nathan asks, what type of pans do you recommend for general use? I think the minimalist approach is best. I would start by having bigger pans before you buy smaller ones because you can cook small food in big pans, but you can't cook big food in small pans. But something like a 10-inch cast iron skillet is great. Cast iron's super cheap, it lasts forever, and I would get something like a big Dutch oven to cook bigger things in, and then later a wok to also cook bigger things and stir fry. I've never had carbon steel, but I hear that's really good. As far as brands go, I don't really look into brands of pans, but I think all of my cast iron is from Lodge and I love it. Sarah asks, how did you go from being a picky eater, only burgers, to being food adventurous? Thank you for asking and thank you for remembering. That's a hard one. I was super picky and I would always order the same thing at every restaurant and it was usually a burger. But in my early 20s, I was kind of forced to start branching out because I started working in the corporate world and you get taken to lunch at different places. So I just started eating what other people eat and started liking it. And then once I started traveling, I went to Korea as my first international trip and loved it and realized that I just like mostly every food out there. Aura asks, are you gonna try a Colombian dish sometime? Absolutamente. I've been slacking a bit, but I love the food in Colombia as well. And I think the best one to start with is arepas. So I need to do that soon, hold me to it. Toyota We Go asks, how do you finish all the food you cook? Great question. Just try to make a lot of friends because there is a lot of food. Sometimes I keep it in my fridge and eat it over the next few days, but sometimes that's just not possible or I can't do it. So I try to give it away to people that I know near me. My family lives near me, which is great. My brother lives with me, so I force him to eat a lot of the food. But yeah, it's better to give it away if it tastes good than me try to eat everything that I make because it's a lot. Trent asks, how cook meat good? Salt, pan, heat. Camdell asks, why haven't you made a martial arts / cooking crossover video? The world is waiting. Great question. I do have a martial arts channel in case you didn't know, but I don't spend as much time on it. I had a really good opportunity when my instructor, Master Kim, came to visit here a few months ago. I made my king cake for him and the Colombians that were also visiting, and I should have put that into a video somehow. He loved it. Any ideas, let me know. Ricky says, 1, Sansa misses you, although we miss you more. 2, when can we test your new grill? I miss Sansa more than both y'all miss me. And anytime, the grill is huge and I don't get enough use out of it, so let's do another taco night or something. Thanks for the question. Toast asks, what was your favorite dish that you have had throughout your childhood that you like to this day? Thanks for the question. I don't actually make, I don't think, any recipes that my parents made me when I was a kid. It's not because I didn't like it, it's just because I'm always trying to try new things nowadays. But that being said, I did make some beef stroganoff in a video from a few weeks ago. And anytime my parents invite me to dinner, I'm always going back for some nostalgia. Sanfi asks, what is your favorite meat that you cook with? The answer would be beef, but I know I shouldn't eat an enormous amount of that. So I do try to stick to chicken breast as much as I can. That's probably my favorite. Modern Day Trey asks, have you been to any foreign countries? And do you have favorite dishes from those? Yeah, I'll lightning speed my favorite dish from each country I've been to. Korea, pulgogi. Colombia, perritos. Iceland, reindeer burger. Mexico, either al pastor or churros. And Costa Rica, rice and beans by far. Zach asks, what's your one food that you would pick to eat every day if you had to? Again, that would be Korean barbecue, hands down. My sweetest friend asks, have you ever worked in the restaurant business? Yeah, my first job was working at a fast food place for a couple of years. I worked the fryer as well as the cash register as well as putting the boxes together. I do miss it from time to time. KM asks, what is the cat's name and what is your favorite thing about living in Louisiana? Actually, I have 2 cats. This is Prince. He's sitting next to me while I eat. And this is Luna. She's a little more shy like I am. But yeah, those are my kids. Yeah, my favorite thing about living in Louisiana is easily the food. I think there's a lot to dislike about living here, but the food is not one of those. I'm still so hungry. Cody asks, what kind of equipment do you use to film/edit? My camera is a Canon G7X Mark II, I think. I use one of these cheap lapel mics that I found on Amazon, and I use DaVinci Resolve to edit. I'm not a tech guy by any means, but I do need to get some lighting, and I do want a better camera eventually. Emily asks, how do you tackle meal plans/shopping for the week? It is really tough. I don't really do meal planning. I don't really have time to do meal prep, and honestly, I do end up eating like a pint of ice cream or a bowl of cereal for dinner a lot of nights because I get home so late from teaching classes. But during the pandemic, I was dieting a bit more and I was finding these foods that I liked, and being a single person, I had to make the same thing, 4 nights or 5 nights a week to get through all of the ingredients. But I still like variety, so I couldn't do the same thing, 2 weeks in a row or something like that. So I think the key is trying to find a recipe that you can eat multiple times and then just making that for the week. I know it's not a really good answer, but I'm not a great person to ask. I do always try to keep food ready in the freezer, like the bolognese sauce that I make, or something like dumplings, or I have instant ramen always ready for like quick lunches and stuff like that. Because a lot of times when it's time to eat, I definitely am not ready to make something and I'm not gonna go buy anything. LOL asks, what's your favorite fast food place? Really the only fast food place that I eat is Taco Bell, and I love it. I don't know why, but most of the other places will make me sick. That one will not. Sunnyside Up asks, favorite dish to cook, who showed you how to cook, and favorite place to eat at? Thanks for the question, great questions. I don't really know what my favorite dish to cook is. My favorite thing to have made in the last year or so is my king cake. I've made it several times for different groups of people, and I'm really proud of the recipe, so I guess I'll say that. Who showed me how to cook? Again, it's Cooking YouTube, and primarily it's Sam the Cooking Guy. Before I really got into the full YouTube cooking, I was watching all of his videos and going back and watching the years of videos that he already had. And I made so many of his dishes to start learning how to cook. So I'm going to attribute most of that to him. Thanks, Sam. My favorite place to eat at? Locally, it's probably Bun Me Boys. It's so close to me and it's super convenient to pick up food and eat it for dinner. I've done it a lot of times. I love them. Thomas asks, best budget place to buy good protein? I don't buy a lot of protein anymore because I haven't watched my diet as much as I used to. In general, I just try to wait for deals on Amazon and buy whatever's on sale. I still do buy a lot of protein bars. I buy authentic bars and Nugo bars primarily, and I always just wait for them to drop down in price on Amazon or wherever else I can find them, and I'll snag a bunch of boxes at the same time. Diamond Mine asks, what kind of food did you grow up eating, and do you have a favorite type of food now that you didn't experience growing up? The second half of that is super easy because I almost ate nothing when I was a kid, so now most Asian cuisines, I love them, and I didn't eat them when I was a kid. I grew up eating a lot of butter noodles, chicken nuggets, macaroni and cheese, and a lot of those frozen bite-sized foods like pizza rolls and bagel bites and stuff like that. Yeah. JBST asks, what's been your hardest recipe to date, and were you able to perfect it? The banh mi sandwich that I did was really hard, and that took me a long time to make. I only did one iteration of it, but I think it came out pretty good. but I did spend a lot of time researching and a lot of time during the recipe trying to make sure that everything was coming out properly. Jennifer asks, did you have professional training? Thank you for the question. No, I have no education whatsoever in cooking besides watching videos on YouTube. I feel like that could be obvious if you watch any of my videos, but a couple people asked me if I could go to one place internationally and try food, what would it be? That's a really good question, and I feel like there's a lot of answers. There's a few countries in Africa that I want to try, and I do want to go to Spain to try their food because I've never had a lot of real Spanish food, and I really want to go to India and see what they have to offer different than what we can buy here. Okay, I think that sums up most of the questions. I might not have got to 100% of them, but I appreciate everyone that submitted them. This was really fun. I didn't even finish my food, but I'm definitely going to do that once I turn the camera off. Yeah, this has been a really long day. If you watch this whole video, I know it's super long. I don't know how long it's going to be after I edit it. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate having this channel and being able to just post things online. And if you people enjoy it and watch it and support me and talk to me, I know I'm not doing this for a living and my quality isn't that great, but it's been really cool to interact with people online that share this type of love for food that we do. I know this was not a normal video by any means, so I appreciate you if you watch this. Got some more recipes coming, and let me know if there's any content or anything that you really like to see that I have done or maybe haven't done yet. Still trying to figure out what works for me and what doesn't. Until next time, be blessed. Thank y'all for watching. See you next time. Now I don't have to pretend to take bird bites each time. It was so good.